The humble stealth build. It's always been a tricky one to conceptualize because Payday's seldom offered enough stealth-specific skills to really consider making build choices and sacrifices. With the addition of the Scrambler and Assassin lines during the development of Skills 1.0, we finally saw the end of that tradition. But unfortunately, with so many of those skills being fed to the loud weapon grinder in the making of Skills 2.0, and with effectively only 10% of the game's total skill options even being applicable to stealth, the new best pure stealth build really makes itself. That's why, after showing you how I put that together, I'll also be showcasing a true hybrid setup, designed to get the most out of loud gameplay without abandoning those stealth routes and still being able to pull off 90% of the maneuvers we can in pure stealth. My take is that although stealth has been sidelined by Skills 2.0, the hybrid vision this game initially had is as distinct as it's ever been, with pistol and marking skills coming together to form a setup that even makes use of the camera marking in loud, if you can believe that. This is part of my 13 video series showcasing some of the most powerful and unique playstyles introduced and enhanced by Skills 2.0, although I'm releasing it as soon as possible so you stealth fanatics know at least I still care about your favourite playstyle. I hope it's useful, and in particular, the hybrid setup at least tempts you to give Loud a second glance. Okay, so first up I'm going to show you what is effectively the only pure stealth build that exists. It includes almost every single stealth skill in the game, so it should be quite easy to replicate. Then I'm going to move on to the much more interesting hybrid build, which I have actually been enjoying, and it's the best part of Skills 2.0 as far as stealth is concerned. So starting off in Soldier with Juggernaut, as all good builds seem to, we ace out extra protection, basic our way up to Beast of Burden, however you want to do this, totally up to you. The important thing is you have Beast of Burden, one of the best skills in the game, even for stealth. In Ninja and the Ghost Tree, we ace out Dodge this, unlock Judo Chop, which has some niche usage. It's not a great skill, it is just a bit of a novelty, but why not grab it? It's one of the few new options you have to play around with. Locksmith Aced might save you about 0.1 of a second every single door you go through, but I suppose when there's not that many other skills you can invest in for stealth, you might as well. Moving on to Hacker, this is where our core stealth skills are. Security Expert into Playback. These are all your camera control skills, classics from the original version of skills. Really powerful, you need them in every stealth build effectively. It's going to allow you to loop the camera or use them to mark targets, turning them away from your teammates. Camera control is massive in Payday 3 stealth, as you know. I'll pick up Bullseye over here as a random dump skill so I can grab Radio Star. This skill has been massively buffed. Already Glitch Protocol was pretty good, but you can now do it once every 20 seconds and it lasts for longer. This is basically the hand-me-out stealth got because there's been so many strange regressions in what we can do in stealth. So you're going to want to abuse this to your fullest. As long as you're not being seen by two guards at once, you can effectively save any situation with this hacking skill. Finally, we have Conman. This is the Grifter surrogate. We grab Adrenaline Junkie to give us constant access to Adrenaline, which sounds weird for stealth, but that's going to give us extra movement speed thanks to Thrill Seeker when we're mask off. Unfortunately, and I don't really understand why this is the case, there is no movement speed skill for when you're mask on. Those were some of the best parts of the Edge, Grit and Rush system, and we have lost that, unfortunately. Plain Sight and Hall Pass are sort of parts of that Grifter setup, which is all about being able to get away with crimes without being spotted. You can still steal everything out the front of the jewelry store, for example, thanks to Hall Pass. Finally, we have Strong Armed. The aced version of this is useful for bag carrying, but the basic version is where you can do some really crazy things, such as using throwing knives whilst in casing mode. You can take out cams, even if you've not masked up. There's some really interesting applications of this. Things like Golden Shark can be made much easier thanks to this individual skill, so I do think it's actually quite an interesting addition, especially for solo stealthers. Final skill, got a single point flying around, you might as well take Knife Expert. It's going to give you a third knife to throw. Knives are obviously really useful as lures in stealth. You no longer need the skill that makes them not break. They will all break automatically. There is no skill to not break knives. So some of that utility has disappeared, but they're still really useful distractions. So for a pure stealth build at least, I would definitely say run them instead of flashbangs as I have now. Everything else in the build is totally up to you. I run motion sensors. Now I think ECM jammers are terrible. They've been nerfed into the ground and they're going to need a major buff. You could just as easily run microcams if you want. I do think motion sensors are the most useful. You can use them to keep tabs on the lead guard at all times. Quite useful. And because of that, I'm running the specialist frame, which lets us bring a third one along for every heist we run. There's very little I need to go into here that you won't already know if you're a Payday 3 stealth vet. Beast of Burden is an annoying sidetrack that should probably be in more of a hybrid or utility branch, bearing in mind stealth builds will still want it, and having to dump skill points to get there never feels like a satisfying solution to the problem. The core new skills are Judo Chop, which has some niche application for when you don't have time to move a body you've taken out, but it's mostly just in because it looks funny, and Locksmith, the ace effect for which saves you less than a second per lockpick opened the old-fashioned way. It really should work on the lockboxes in no rest in my opinion. Radio Star is now incredibly powerful, and 4 runtimes with only 6 points invested in the Black Hat branch feels a little bit scandalous. I've yet to find a viable stealth use for Flash Mob, hence why I've dropped it here in favour of just running throwing knives for distractions, although I do wonder if the community can find a way to break silent flashbangs. Finally, Strong Armed is an interesting skill, allowing you to take out guards who aren't going to be found by a patrol without even masking up. Again, this can help on heists like No Rest for the Wicked and Golden Shark, where at least as a solo player it often feels like a necessity to mask up and turn off cams. I'm hoping there's some fun innovations discovered by using that skill. That's it for pure stealth though. Keep in mind you can't manually switch off individual cams with ECMs anymore, and the interceptor is fairly broken when you need to escape towards the end of a heist, and you'll be just fine. Now, instead, if you want to run a more loud-orientated version of a stealth build, we can still do that. We need to drop Beast of Burden Aced, which sucks, but Beast of Burden Basic is really where most of the value is at. Also, and this really stings, we have to drop all these nice dodge skills, so that's one way of surviving we are going to be missing, but let me tell you, what we get in exchange is well worth it. Instead, the goal is going to be to run flashbangs, and to run pistols as our damaging option. So we get high marks for some damage resistance against marked targets. We're going to be marking a lot. We can of course mark with playback, which is a really cool little loud stealth synergy. Spotlight, again we can mark with our throwables, our flashbangs in this case. Spatial awareness aced, this is our survivability instead of dodge. Cheap Trick aced, this is our damage on stunned targets, synergizing really nicely with flashbangs again. And then Bounty Hunter is going to be a core skill. Fortunately, we're going to have to drop Strong Armed over here and Knife Expert to actually get there. But when we do that, I believe we should be able to grab Bounty Hunter. We have 2 spare points going. If we had one more, it would be nice to get something like Seeing Red. Yeah, it's not a huge damage bonus. It's actually one of the worst skills in the game, and it really frustrates me that it exists in such a strange part of the build. But yeah, as you know, I've complained about this already. You need adrenaline to access it. You need a lot of commitment to this tree. Most of these are stealth skills. It's really strange. But yeah, you're better off having Beast of Burden than you are having Strong Arm. So that's our sacrifice. We have 2 points remaining. I would say you grab another point Spotlight because ammo might be an issue, and Stockpile because, again, ammo might be an issue. Much like I did with the pistol build, the SIG 40 is my weapon of choice. It really is an option that's up to you. I think your pistols are going to be doing enough damage that you don't need to go too far with the power and run something like a revolver. And this is of course still a decent enough stealth pistol. Our overkill weapon for both builds, by the way, and our deployable, it's the same. It's the interceptor or the ammo bag. If you're really determined you might be going loud and you don't find the interceptor that useful, you could run the Red Fox. It's going to save you in the hybrid build when up against dozers, because they are basically a weakness of this build. And of course in the hybrid setup you run flashbangs instead of throwing knives. You do lose that utility that throwing knives offers, and also I'm not going to bother picking up Flash Mob, so you're not going to have the flashbangs as a stealth utility. Someone's going to find a way to break it, I'm sure, but I just don't know how to. But I think it's a worthwhile trade to be just that little bit less effective in stealth to be so much more effective in loud. And we stick with the specialist frame because why not? It's really not so bad. You're going to have that plate break quite early on, not an issue. You're basically left with a slightly weakened version of the impact plate. That is the hybrid setup for stealth. Let's jump into the gameplay and show you exactly how it works. I'm infinitely more excited to talk to you about this hybrid setup though. Finally pairing cam marking with skills that benefit against marked targets feels amazing, like a prophecy fulfilled, and this effect is only going to get stronger once playback gets buffed in the January update. The obvious weakness of this build in a drawn out heist is its lack of ammo, which is why we prioritise Spotlight Ace to pick up those double drops on stunned enemies. And with Bounty Hunter duplicating our tool, even if we run out of flashes, we can still ensure heals throughout the loud portion of the heist. This build only gives up faster lockpicking, which is a loss and a tiny bit of bag movement speed to achieve all this damage potential and utility. Not to mention, we also get to actively utilise the loud element of Adrenaline Junkie's Adrenaline game buff, which I never thought I'd say, as this is effectively a stealth branch, hence why it's such a strangely placed skill. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to also have Seeing Red in this setup, as it might be the only time I'll ever use this confused skill, but I'm not sure it's worth committing 7 points for just 60% potential damage when I can situationally double my damage by using Cheap Trick. One thing to note though, with an unbuffed ammo box equipped, don't expect many second chances if the cops do breach your spatial awareness healing, and keep in mind you will massively struggle against dozers with no direct counter to their massive armor pool. It might be worth seriously considering switching over to the Red Fox instead of the Interceptor if you suck at stealth as I do, but I feel that sort of defeats the purpose of this build being stealth focused predominantly with a decent plan B option. Of course, you won't be as effective as if you follow one of my pure loud setups, but you also won't be far off in most public lobbies. I'm happy to see this hybrid playstyle actually receive some support in Skills 2.0, although it's not enough for me to forgive them for the overarching approach to stealth. Sacrificing skills to appease the edge, grit and rush gods isn't the way to go, and I'd love to see another tree to support the playstyle as early into next year as possible. That being said, I hope you enjoyed and this video was useful for stealth focused players. If you want more loud centric builds, be sure to check out the ever expanding Skills 2.0 playlist from the description below, and if you want them all early, either my YouTube channel membership page or Patreon page has them all shared in advance. Take care, have a great patch day, and I'll see you all tomorrow for more Skills 2.0 content. A huge thank you to my dedicated Patreon backers. If you want to join this crew in going infamous, check out the link below and pledge as little as $2 to see your name in the credits, or get 24-hour early access to future videos and vote on upcoming content. Take care, I'll see you all soon.